Good morning, this is your AI host, Jay. I'm here with the automatically generated, Journato, morning headlines on October 17, 2023. It will be worse than Hamas. Order to evacuate strikes fear into North Israel. The Guardian, inside the villages in northern Israel taking shelter from Hezbollah shells. The Telegraph, Lebanese hold their breath as fears grow Hezbollah will pull them into war. Politico Europe, Hezbollah clash with Israel raises fears of a second front. The Times, what's happening in the Israel-Lebanon border region? Settlement talks collapse in Kenya Facebook redundancies case. Will Sam Bankman-Fried take the stand to save himself? BBC, Sam Bankman-Fried needs more medication to be able to testify. The Times, former FTX executive says he was embarrassed and ashamed of its excess. The Guardian, Bankman-Fried may not testify if he is denied ADHD drugs, lawyers warn. The Telegraph, an SBF testimony could add decades to his prison sentence, according to lawyer. Here's why. China and Russia harden positions on Gaza as war stirs geopolitical tensions. The Guardian, Security Council rejects Russian resolution on Gaza war that made no mention of Hamas. The Times of Israel, we cannot support a resolution which fails to condemn Hamas terror attacks. UK statement at the UN Security Council. Gov. UK, UN Security Council meets to vote on rival Russian and Brazilian resolutions on Israel-Hamas war. The Independent, UN Security Council rejects Russian resolution on Israel-Hamas war. EU to push for COP28 deal on phasing out fossil fuels. Reuters, EU fails to set date ending fossil fuel subsidies before COP28. Bloomberg, these EU countries are demanding a fossil fuel phase-out at COP28. Euronews, EU countries wrangle over negotiating stance for COP28 climate summit. Israel-Hamas war live, Gaza just 24 hours from catastrophe, warns WHO. The Independent, Hamas, we hold 200 hostages. Foreign nationals will be freed when conditions allow. The Times of Israel, crisis looms in Gaza, hospitals to run out of fuel in 24 hours, says UN. WION, Gaza facing real catastrophe as hospitals only have hours of fuel left. The Independent, Gaza under blockade, Palestinians are running out of food and water. Martti Ahtisaari, ex-Finland president and Nobel Peace Laureate, dies aged 86. The Guardian, tributes paid to former Finnish president who oversaw heir decommissioning in Northern Ireland. Belfast Telegraph, Martti Ahtisaari, former Finnish president and Nobel laureate dies, 86. Euronews, Finnish Nobel Peace Laureate Martti Ahtisaari dies at 86. Al Jazeera English, Martti Ahtisaari, former Finnish president and mediator over Kosovo, dies. EU parliamentarians make accidental stop at Disneyland. It is far from clear how much Rishi Sunak can do in the Israel-Hamas war, Sam Coates. Sky News, PM Sunak meets King of Jordan as Gaza offensive looms. Forces Network, PM Rishi Sunak to address ministers today on Israel and Gaza. The Bolton News, UK Premier, Jordan's king discuss steps to prevent further escalation in Middle East. Anadolu Agency, English, Watch, Sunak addresses MPs as Israel expected to launch ground offensive in Gaza. Jim Jordan tries to win over GOP to become next House Speaker, Live. The Independent, Jim Jordan is living with the consequences of trying to burn down the House. The Independent, Jim Jordan, the conservative Republican who wants to be Speaker. BBC, Jim Jordan is the statesman we need at this moment as Speaker. Banana fortune heir Daniel Noboa wins Ecuador presidential election. Steve Bell sacked by Guardian in antisemitism row over Netanyahu cartoon. The Independent, Steve Bell sacked by Guardian in antisemitism row over Netanyahu cartoon. BBC, Guardian cartoonist Steve Bell sacked after Benjamin Netanyahu sketch. Sky News, Christian Adams, why the Steve Bell cartoon row is the Guardian's own fault. Evening Standard, Guardian cartoonist's contract not renewed after Netanyahu drawing. Israel-Gaza Live News, Biden to visit as rocket attacks continue and humanitarian crisis grows. BBC, Israel-Hamas war live, more than 50 reported dead in Israeli raids on Gaza. Al Jazeera English, Hamas and Israel at war, what we know on day 11. The Guardian, Israel launches new strikes on Gaza, warns of long fight. Voice of America, VOA News, Israeli tanks and troops ready to launch attack at Gaza, Israel attacks Gaza. Rafah crossing, thousands of people arrive at Gaza-Egypt border. BBC, explainer, what's inside aid convoy at Gaza crossing, occupied Palestinian territory. Relief Web, thousands of Palestinians trapped as Rafah border crossing remains closed. The Telegraph, Israel denies reports of a ceasefire in South Gaza, BBC News. This was all for the news. Thanks for listening. Please do not forget to like and subscribe.